keeps coming up with new messages. There we go. And I'll just mute that. Yay. Okay, so we are live on Facebook. I'm just going to double check that it's on my page. Welcome to Love Speaks Love. There we go. And my special guest today is Sifu Boggie. Welcome.
As a bus goes past, thank you. I'm under a tree near a really quietish road, but yes, I couldn't quite get back in time, so I thought I'd plant myself probably under one of my relatives. I'm pretty sure I'm a reincarnation of a tree at least twice. But yes, it's all good. Thank you.
I reckon so. You've got quite a few tree aspects, I think. Okay, so I'm just going to put my glasses back on so I can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to share it to a couple of pages. I'll share it there. Oh, that's not what I want. Just bear with me. Oh, my brain is not quite working on the... Okay, share it to Love Speaks Love. That's what we want to do. Ah, how very bizarre. It's not... When things change and you're live, it's a little bit tasking for the brain. Taxing. Tasking and taxing.
Indeed, indeed. Normally, I'm in that spot, and I'm the one where especially in the early days when I started the way of conscious mindfulness, you'd see the top of my head all the time because I'm always sorting stuff out or trying to figure out. So it's nice to actually I'm just chilling. I'm just sitting here under a tree, just being me, Sifu Boggie. I'm a poet, didn't even know it.
It's doing some weird thing and it's not letting me save it to Love Speaks Love, but I'll do it after, I think. Yeah, it's not just the way that I'm doing it, it's coming up with some glitch. But that's okay. So I'll share it there. So it's just taking me a little bit longer than normal. And it's actually taking me through a few more stages than it would be. Oh, that's better. So how, I was going to ask you a question, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until we just, there it is, until we just anchor in. So thank you for joining us, those that are here. So as you may or may not know, I normally start Love Speaks Love because to me it is a beautiful sacred container. So I normally start Love Speaks Love with a little bit of a heart connect. So I'm going to do that now. So I invite all of us, if we're in a position to do so, to bring our awareness to our heart space in the center of our chest. And let us honor our beautiful hearts by breathing in love. Breathing love into our beautiful hearts and into every cell of our beautiful bodies. Breathing out anything of the day so far, or the day ahead, or the week. Anything that might be preventing you from being in this now moment. And feeling all of our hearts connected together in this one unified field of love. And as we do this, and as we consciously connect our hearts together, I'm seeing little dots of light all over the planet in gold, and seeing beautiful lines of gold connecting them all together. And extending our heart awareness out now to the heart of Mother Earth, of Gaia. Connecting in with the new Earth templates and Gaia's crystalline diamond heart. Feeling her love and her gratitude for all of us. Feeling Gaia's love moving into your heart and into every cell of your body. And extending that heart awareness out now to the heart of the sun. Feeling that beautiful love from the sun moving into your heart, into your solar plexus, which is like your solar battery. And into every cell of your body. And extending that heart awareness out now to the heart of Source Creator. And again, feeling the love from Source returning to you. Moving into every cell of your body. Feeling your heart expanding. And just checking in if there's anything that you would like to add at this point, Sifu. Feeling that. Thank you. So if your eyes are closed, I invite you to open them whenever you're ready. So welcome again to Love Speaks Love. It's an absolute joy to have you on the show. Thank you. You are muted.
I know. I was just pressing the button. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here. It's the first time I've been on your show. So.
You've been on my list from the start, but I do believe in divine timing and when I get the nudge, and that nudge was this week. So yes, Paul, Sifu Boggie and I have, we connect once a month on Paul's Way of Conscious Mindfulness show. So tell us about your show. There's so much that I want to ask you, but I'll let you just say a little bit about who you are, what you're doing here.
Okay, my little blurb is coming up. So my name is Sifu Boggie. Well, Paul Brighton is my real name, but I've actually got many different names. Depending where I am, I've got many different names. But my healing name, my martial art name, is Sifu Boggie. Sifu means guide, muse, somebody who points you along your path, who points you along your way. Boggie is that how it's actually meant to be, but it's said however you hear it is the way you say it. Boggie means the balancer between the chaos and the calmness, and it was the name given to me by my Sifus, which meant that I could channel the unpredictability, the chaos of the universe and the calmness all at the same time. That I could be all over the place, jumping around, doing crazy stuff, doing crazy things, and then suddenly do 15 hours of meditation, standing still, which I've done. I've done that, and jump out of an airplane. So my goal is to help people find their path, find their own personal way or balance. And I've helped lots of people with chronic pain, fibromyalgia, migraines, ME, MS, many different ailments and injuries over the last 39 years. And that's what I do, and that's my goal. And I do that through things like Qigong, Teate, which is Chinese, on the physical side, Teate, which is Chinese osteopath, Tuina, which is a form of massage and energy work, Shen, which is Chinese Reiki. I then do Eastern Reiki, the original before Reiki in Japan called Teate. I do Tai Chi, Qigong, do a number of different things because my teachers very much believed, and I very much believe, everything you learn enhances everything else you do. So there should be no limit to what you learn, and there should be no limit to what you pick up, because everything you learn enhances everything else you do. So that's me. The show, The Way of Conscious Mindfulness, is sort of a reflection of that. It's a show of balancing health and well-being with mind, body, and spirit. Also blending spirituality with science, with a Daoist twist. Dao means the way, the path to balance. And it's each week we either have a subject or a guest, and the goal is to have an open discussion and to find new skills, new ways to find and to balance our very own personal Tao, our very own personal way, path, or balance. And through that, a couple of things happened. The mighty Doc Delaney, which I know has been on your show, we ended up creating our own monthly show called Doc and Sifu's Monthly Ponderings, which is always quite fun. And then you and I have a monthly show, which is Sifu Boggie and Denise Chadwick's Light Code Discussions, which is about, well, a number of things, but especially the light language and light code, which I was taught is been around. We've sort of found it again, but it's been around in ancient knowledge for millennia, for thousands and thousands of years. And the shaman, the DragonDog shaman, they used it with qigong and energy work and other things. And a bit like Reiki, a bit like qigong, people tend to see it as one thing, or like, oh, it's for healing, or oh, it's for meditation, or oh, it's for martial arts. But the truth is, it's all communication with the universe, with source. And that's what life is all for me. Life is all about balancing, but not in a flat way, as in like scales being flat, but balancing in, you go through your ups and your downs, and you go through seasons of energy, and it's finding that middle ground. It's finding a way to float with it rather than drown in it. But hey, what do I know?
Nice. So you were very young when you started getting into this. So you were what, 12, 13-ish?
Well, right. So yeah, when I got into the Taoism and Qigong, yeah, I was 11 going into 12. It was about 3 months before my 12th birthday, but that was not technically the beginning. I mean, I was remembering past life stuff when I around about 6, 7, but I was my mum is half Irish, and or her mum was Irish, Yorkshire. My dad's family were from London and Cornwall, and they're very traditional. And I sort of picked up that saying that you're remembering being a Chinese man, or you're remembering these other things. This was, so it was 6, 7, it's 1986, no, sorry, 1976, 1977. That sort of talk back then would get you locked up. So I sort of figured out, and my mum was a little bit of a hypochondriac anyway, so you sneeze and she'd think you got bubonic plague. So you had to, I learned to be wary of how to say things or what not to say. So I was having these past life memories about 6 or 7, and I was seeing energy about again 9 or 10, and it was driving me a little bit crazy. And by the time my teachers, my Sifus came along, they said something different to me that they said to my parents. To me, the main Sifu Shun said, I recognize you're awake, and I see that in past lives I was your Sifu and you were my Sifu, and it's my turn to be your Sifu again. And to me, like 11 years old, that made perfect sense. Anybody else in 1981 would think you're a nutter and well, where's the door and let's run, or at least my parents would. So it was, yeah, so it was this weird combination of, it's almost, I look back and it was almost like a Harry, before even Harry Potter was about, it was a Harry Potter sort of thing of, I was sort of in the Muggle world, but but my teacher was sort of in the wizarding world, and it was sort of popping in between the two. That, you know, they was teaching me stuff that was really weird and fantastical and very strange, and it, a lot of it wasn't until probably when I started the show in 2016 that I actually started to be more open about certain things that have happened in my past, because it was just too crazy. It was just too, you know, it is things that, you know, just seeing, you know, seeing not ghosts, seeing something that's from another dimension, seeing, you know, what looks like a dinosaur walking past you. I didn't normally talk about, and actually I don't even talk about now until just now, apparently. But you know, it's the, yeah, it's you know, there's lots of things that I've experienced and seen and gone to certain places, and then I'm speaking to a lot of scientists and a lot of people in the FT 500 index businesses that use lots of stuff that we think's weird, or a lot of people would think, you know, this stuff's, you know, not real. But in the science world, in the military, they're fully aware of remote viewers. They're fully aware of psychics. They're fully aware that there are that are other dimensions that slip into this one. That's what Sasquatch, Bigfoot is. That's what unicorns are. That's what fairies are. They come from other dimensions, and they can pop in and out of ours. And they're fully aware of that, but it's not something they always talk about. Well, they don't. But anyway, sorry, let's not what you asked. I'm in an honesty mood. I'm in a
Good.
let's give some interesting facts mood. But
Oh, I'll have to think of some big questions then. So at 11 years old, how did your paths come together?
So like I say, it's this interesting. So it's this interesting thing of so my Sifus are Daoists, and Daoist. Well, when you're tuned into Tao, God, whatever you want to call it, the source, weird things happen where the past, the present, and the future are happening all at once. So they already sort of saw that you know, they were, my teachers purposely looked for individuals who were awake, or who were, you know, who were their past students, and to them, you know, like past lives are the same as saying last year. You know, they don't see any difference between you know, a life that happened 500 years ago to now. They see it all the same. So it's almost, you know, like they say, oh, there you are, right, you got to continue training again. So it was almost like for, even though, like I say, even though I was quite young, and the training I was doing, and I went quite quickly into some of the things I learned, but to them it was you just continuing where you left off last time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So was it did they like just turn up at your door, or did you start doing classes?
All right. Yeah. So what happened was I was bullied a lot as a kid. Again, because I was born in the 70s. What was later, actually not until I was 30, but I would later find out I was actually dyslexic, dyspraxic, and a slight touch of autism, like cherry on top of the cake, and I, because of that, I got a lot bullied at school, and so because of that, my parents decided for me and my brother to do martial arts. So we started a martial art called Teate, which is now called Kicksa. And in those in the martial arts, the martial arts itself wasn't. It was okay. It was sort of okay, but they did meditation in there. They did this period where you meditated, and that I loved. Absolutely, I loved that side of it. And they, because they had a belt system, they have adjudicators. And what happened was is that again, a sort of a way for him to recruit my main Sifu at the time, Shun. He's actually his surname, but most people knew him Shun, so it's Malay Shun. So Sifu Shun, he would do adjudication, and he just literally would go to these different. He would within the England. He was doing the belt, sort of like belt testing, but the Chinese martial art board, the Eastern martial art board, which the Chinese martial art was part of it, they would have adjudicators that would come and adjudicate, do the testing for different martial arts, and he was one of those. And he just, in essence, he saw there was one of his students already in that school who said, I may have somebody you'd be interested in, who sort of said, had started talking to, who later on became one of my best mates. He made sure he went for that adjudication, and yeah, he like I say, in the outside world, it sounds all really weird and fantastical and amazing, but to him, it was, I'm looking for the people I've lost, and it's like, oh, there you are, and that's how he saw it. And I've done this where I say, you're a Daoist, or I recognise you, I recognise your energy, and it's just seeing things in a different light, and so it started off there, and he was doing with the guy, his name was Terry. He started getting Terry to teach me certain things, and it was all based at first on Qigong, which is energizing exercise or breath work. But traditionally in the East, martial arts martial arts is not really about fighting. Martial arts is about personal development. The martial arts side is what a lot of people sort of focus on, but it's more actually about training the body and training the mind and training the spirit. But what he said when I was a kid was, before you can learn to kill, you must learn to heal. So he taught me the healing arts and the meditational side, and I started off with that, and then I got to about 17, 18, so I've been doing it around about 5 years, or 17, I've been doing it 5 years, and then he had me around about then, more by then, actually teaching different applications or different bits of martial arts. So I would go to different countries to either train myself, teach somebody else a move or an application or a certain thing, or do close protection. Eventually I did close protection as well, so I was a bodyguard for them, and they worked in the diplomatic circles, they worked in the FT or Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 circles, and so I would do close protection side, but there was a role created called the protector of interests. So a protector of interests, in essence, was a little bit so that I could do close protection, or if they needed energy work, I could do energy work on them or massage them. If they needed, there's a thing in business called charging, where somebody sits in the room, a human being sits in the room, and they sort of act like a human Wi-Fi booster. And they sit there, and a bit like think of Reiki, they're sitting there sending Reiki into that room and inspiring people and boosting up people's ability to think or react to a situation or solve problems. And in the FT 500, 100, especially businesses, they do that. They have chargers who will come and boost up people's morale or affect people's energy. And because they, like I say, especially in the East, but also in America, in the FT 100 Index businesses, they know it's real. They don't care how woo-woo it sounds. If it helps them make money, they use it, and that's the whole point. So as a protector of interests, I sometimes did close protection. I sometimes was like a one-to-one trainer. I sometimes did massage or healing, and sometimes I was a charger, and I would charge up that situation. So I did a lot of that. Over the years, it was sort of like a part-time job that I was actually also trained as a baker and eventually a chef, but a baker first. I did baking for a period of time, and then I'll take anything between a week and a month off, and to go to different places with Shun, or his brother Po, or my best mate Terry, and we'd be doing that sort of stuff. So I'd go from a sort of a normal life here to go off to other places around the world doing teaching, healing, seeing strange stuff up mountains in China, and it was a very well up to around about 2000 that was all going on. And then I met, or just before then, I met my partner at the time, and had a choice that I had to choose between one or the other, because they were both sort of saying that sort of lifestyle, they don't like you having partners, because partners could, the people I was worked for they were multimillionaires, and their enemies, or the people who didn't like them, tend to be multimillionaires. So if they thought they could, possibly kidnap somebody, or possibly, harm somebody that a close protection officer was, a family of a close protection officer to get to, it was a little bit. It sounds like a movie, but that sort of stuff happens. So there was a choice. Had to choose that. I'd at the time was in love, and I had to choose between one or the other. So I chose the relationship. So
Wow.
cool, blimey. Okay. The short version of my life.
What an interesting life you have led. So a little curious question here that just sparked up when you were talking about the FT and them charging up people in a room. Did they, and you don't have to answer this question, but it's popping in to ask you. So those systems seemingly are quite random in some ways, like the financial system. Would they ever be manipulating with the energy those kinds of?
Heck yeah. So right. So there's a thing I think our audience may know of, feng shui or feng shui, depends how you want to call it. Now in the West, we say, it's you arrange furniture and it's something about energy, improves energy in your home, improves energy in your life. In the East, in the West, like in the Fortune 500 companies, or at least the Eastern companies in the West, especially, these rich companies, they will not lay a brick until a feng shui practitioner has checked the land. In actual fact, there were several banks that have these weird, like trick buildings where one side seems a little bit pointy, like they have an edge, and it looks a really sharp, pointy edge on this building. That's energetically in feng shui. That's a metal. That's a knife, and they'll point that to to an opposing bank or another bank, and they'll literally have spiritual energy wars. They'll literally be, they will build things. They'll create things in a certain way that will send their negative energy off to other people, and there is a lot of interesting stuff. Let's say, you know, there's lots of, you know, like, well, let's put it like this. So when you say something nice about somebody, you're blessing them. When you say something nasty about somebody, you're cursing them. In the FT 500 index businesses, and in that realm, that's taken to a whole different level. They happily will have people who will be protecting them energetically, and have other set of people attacking somebody else energetically. There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of that going on, and we, like I say, it sounds too fantastical, but there's a lot of movies that actually sort of portray this in a different way, and or certain things. There's a lot of movies that are soft disclosure, telling you what actually going on. And then when you look into, say, quantum physics, when they've literally been saying since the 1900s, oh sorry, 20th century, since the 1900s, they did the experiments, and they were literally saying that the observer affects the experiment. Well, we are the observer, and this reality is the experiment. And within quantum physics, within a thing called epigenetics, they know that literally the way you think and feel affects stuff. So, but they also know that energy affects other things as well. In the 70s, physicists found a thing called the field. They called it the field, and it's literally like this energy that connects everything. Every single particle and every single energy is connected to everything else, and they know that it exists. So they know that if you do something in a certain way, it will affect other people. So yes, there is lots of energy manipulation going on in the world. Some very positive, some not so much. But it was, like I said, it was like the Harry Potter. It was a bit like Harry Potter. It's like going in, realizing that actually there's a lot of people that take this stuff. A lot of people, diplomats, politicians, like I say, millionaires, billionaires, that take this stuff really seriously, really seriously. But everybody else is none the wiser. And though now we're waking up, now people are taking it more seriously, and now people are sort of realizing. And yeah, so to answer your question, yes.
So if they were firing energy at different companies, or that may or may not have been aware of that, and with the laws of, you know, things returning to you, would that actually work? Or would it be that they have people in place to stop those things returning to them? And if so, would that actually work?
Well, the answer was, well, yes. You know, right. So yeah. So the thing with the universe, yeah, there is a big thing of the yin yang symbol, as people call it. I'm going to a different slant. So if you've heard this from me before, you're about to hear a different slant to it. The yin yang, which is the masculine and feminine blending together, and it's not yin yang at all. That symbol is actually called Tai Chi, but that is also karma. That symbol is actually karma. What comes around goes around. Mm-hmm. So the whole point is, yes, you can throw something out towards somebody, and yes, it will hit them. But also, something will come back. Now, you know, and so like with those companies that, yeah, you know, that others, you know, certain companies will have deflection and will be able to deflect it. But if it doesn't, if you know, the universe works on free will. The universe works on, and this is a really tough thing for some people to understand, to really get, is that the universe works on free will. Right? We sort of get that, understand that. But that works both ways, that you have free will to attack somebody, and somebody has free will to either deflect that attack or feel I'm powerless and I can't do anything about it, and that's going to hurt me. And the issue is that some people feel, oh, I can't stop this, I can't do anything, and it therefore affects them. the universe will get that. The universe will reflect that back to the attacker, but it will happen when it happens. So everybody who uses things in a negative way will get there. It will come back to you, but there is no, when it comes back is sort of like the will of the universe. It's a bit like a boomerang. You send a boomerang out, you don't know when it's going to come back, but it'll come back. It'll probably hit, and if you're not ready, it will hit you on the head. So there is that thing of that, and it's the whole thing. I used to love, I still do. I love teaching. I love teaching women, especially like martial arts, because a woman would say, "Oh, like very small and small and petite," and they would say, "Oh, but how can I fight? How can I defend myself against somebody who's 6 foot tall?" It's easy. I'll show you how. Because we're in the universe, the yin, the feminine, is actually the greatest power there is. The water is the greatest power there is, but it's learning how to channel it in certain ways. So, yes, things can work against people, but also, there's always a counter. There's always a counter to it, and also whatever happens, even if you send something out and they deflect it, that will still come back because you sent it out.
Yeah.
Because there's a very much that thing of service to self or service to others. You need a little bit of service to self. You have to replenish yourself. If you give to everybody all the time, you're technically being selfish because you'll burn yourself out. And that is actually against one of the rules of the universe, that you're meant to keep yourself charged up. But if you take all the time and don't give back, that will come and bite you on the nose too.
Very, very interesting. Okay, is there anything else for there? I think that's covered that. So we were talking before we came on air about the energies at the moment, and obviously everything's just intense. Like, it doesn't matter what day it is, what time it is in the day, everything at the moment is just turned on full volume. But how are you finding the energies at the moment? Like, what's present are you finding?
I just quite recently moved to the coast. I still work in London, and London is quite dense energy. I think it's quite old. I'm far more sensitive energetically than most people realise. I think a lot of people sort of see the martial arts side of me, or the ice hockey side of me, or the whatever. Oh, he's not into all of that. But yeah, I'm a lot more energetically sensitive than a lot of people think. And yeah, the in London, the energies have been are a lot denser anyway. And recently I came to the coast, and the energies are getting denser. And I think me coming to the coast has been a really fortuitous move, because the sea always charges me up. It's allowing me to ground and replenish far more quicker, because I've literally dropped about 2 to 3 hours sleep since I've been here 2 months, and I sleep about 2 to 3 hours less a day now than I was, and that nothing lasts forever. It could change, but I'm definitely finding that I'm a lot more rejuvenated, a lot more energized. But I've sort of said this. I said this when I started the show back in 2016. There is the whole thing of the golden age, or the golden race. The ancient ones didn't call it the golden age; they called it the golden race. But they said it was almost like clockwork, and the Mayan culture, the I Ching, which is like a Chinese almanac. They've all predicted, and other cultures all predicted, a certain period of time where certain things will happen. NASA reported very quietly in 2010 that our solar system has moved into a period of the galaxy where there's this great big cosmic dust cloud, and it's round about 2,000 light years big, so it's 2,000 years long. And we entered it around about 2010, which sort of the whole 2012 prophecies were never the end of the world, especially if you look at the Mayan calendar. There's another 9 calendars after that one, so it was never the end of the world. But the press and the West pushed that narrative. But what they said was, oh, this, and what they noticed, and again, they said it very quietly, that every single planet and our star since 2010 especially, but it was actually happening in the 70s, all the planets and the star in our solar system are heating up. It's not global warming, it's solar warming. Is that everything is heating up. So unless, and that's possible, but unless there are RVs on Pluto and on Mars, you know, how come they're warming up? How come they're heating up too?
Mm-hmm.
And they've noticed that it's even affecting that the sun is changing. The wave particles of the sun, what the sun's emitting, that energy is also changing. So this feeling of this density that's coming and these waves of energy that seem, you know, and society in general has changed, especially since 2012. Things are shifting and changing, and more people are waking up, and the energy is getting more and more denser. And for me, or at least the sort of the scientific-ish version is, there's this period of space, this dust cloud. It's about 2,000 light years big, and they said even then that it seems to be the size of the size of the galaxy. We would go through this dust cloud roughly every 26,000 years, which also happens to collide with the precession of the equinox, which is the Earth's wobble that happens around about 26,000 years. Which also happens to be the golden, pending which version you talk about, but the golden age, the golden race. I forget the Hindu name for it, but again talks about every 26,000 years there is this period of time where the energy changes and it becomes a certain thing. And the whole point is, I think, as the energy increases and it feels more dense because we're so blocked off from receiving energy, we're so blocked off from receiving it feels so dense. But if you ground, whatever helps you ground, for me it's the ocean, for me it's sitting under a tree, you know, whether it's, you know, drinking a coffee, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's whatever it is. The more that you go and ground, the more that you go and find energy exercises or qigong or your version of that, and the more you do a bit of stretching or yoga or neigong, or your version of that, the more you do a bit of meditation, another Daoist word, or Shen Gong, or a version of that. When you start doing those things, it will keep you connected. It will keep you grounded to that energy. It will plug you into the universe, and you'll feel you'll start to open and expand to that energy. Because when you disconnect, that's when you feel lost and alone, and that's when you start feel, you know, that everything starts building up, and you know, everything seems confusing and crazy. Well, it still will be confusing and crazy, but when you connect to the universe, you sort of start seeing the bigger picture, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, that makes sense. And is you feeling that the denser energy, because a lot of us are consciously shedding at the moment, we're shedding a lot of our denser energy. And I think when you're more conscious about doing it, you'll perhaps do that in a way that you're not just going there and it, you know, it's still there. We're kind of like dealing with it. But a lot of people who don't know about that will be releasing their stuff, but not necessarily in a way that creates more harmony. So they're releasing their denser energy, and that's just floating around. Is that kind of your feeling of that?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yes, yes is the answer. But the interesting thing is that back to that Tai Chi symbol, the yin yang, the Tai Chi symbol, is that where people talk about the dark night of the soul, and releasing stuff. Technically, you do it every single moment of the day, because if you breathe in, you have to breathe out, and you breathe out Cha, and then you breathe in Chi, which is why I use that saying, breathe in the Chi, so you can breathe out that density and every single day. But the but is like, and and I like the way you said it about this stuff floats around. But the point is, one an old northern, well, my granddad you would say, an old northern saying, it is one person's rubbish, one person's shite is another person's treasure. And the interesting thing is that like, if you're upset and stressed, one thing that will love that energy are trees, are nature. Because, and I've had an argument, well, not an argument, somebody agreed with me with this, said, oh, nature doesn't want our stress. And it's like, no, you don't understand, it's not stress to them. When we breathe out carbon monoxide. That's what the trees absorb in, and they naturally produce oxygen. And this is the whole point of the whole, like, going to Mars with Elon Musk, and the using algae and using plants that will actually, we feed them and they feed us. They give us the oxygen, but they also, trees, everything is metaphoric. So everything that happens physically has a equal version of that emotionally, an equal version of that spiritually. So when you breathe out, you're breathing out your stress, your worry, your tension. But one translation of char simply means what you no longer need. So it's not rubbish, it's not bad, it's what you no longer need. And what you don't need, somebody else will. This universe, this world is far more about recycling than most people realize. And the world, if humankind was to disappear tomorrow, the world would do quite fine on its own. It could quite easily repair itself and go back to normal. Give it enough time, and nature has that ability, and you have that ability. If you could stop the cycles of the negativity and focused on the positive, your body can quite easily repair itself. There's no such thing as, in very weird ways, that there's been medical doctors that have found African tribes that have lost, like, 60, 70-year-olds that their teeth are fallen out, and then they come back a year later and they've got new teeth, and they said, how did you grow new teeth? And the tribes people would go, how could you not? They don't know any different.
Yeah.
And there are certain places where there are talk about people losing a limb and regrowing it back. And now this is all fantastical to us. But what if we have we've put blockages in our way to stop us from actually being what we can quite naturally do? And the whole point of Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, epigenetics, they're saying that we are far more powerful than we're allowing ourselves to believe. And I know exactly, Seagull. And yeah, like, when releasing this stuff, yes, let that stuff out. But there's an old, in Taoism, they talk about alchemy. And alchemy is about turning lead into gold, and anything is technically lead, turning your char into chi. So yes, there could be negativity around, but rather than trying to run away from it, you can convert it. You can turn what somebody no longer needs into something that you need. You can twist things around, and that's for at first I want people to get stronger and learn that they can overcome. But eventually, I want to teach people and teach the world that you can turn char into chi. Things can be converted. Things can be, can be turned around physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It can all be converted, and we've got to stop seeing things as good and bad and start seeing how we can actually convert it into what we or what we individually or us globally need, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. I heard quite a few years ago about a young boy who was obsessed with lizards. And I don't know if he had his own lizards or if he just was really obsessed with them. And he accidentally chopped the end of his finger off, and he grew his finger back because he knew about lizards growing their tails back, and he believed that he could do it. Therefore, he did it.
Well, yes, and there's loads of that. But science actually has stated that in our DNA, within our DNA there is that gene, that DNA gene. They can actually find within the DNA, within our DNA, there is that ability to regrow. We actually have that ability, and that for some people is crazy, but it's only crazy because you've been told, you've been told that is crazy. You out there, you can see ultraviolet and infrared lights. That's not me. That's not whimsical. That's a fact. That your pineal gland is the third eye. Again, that's how the third eye, all very woo woo. Your pineal gland is literally an eye inside your brain. It's literally an eye. It's a tiny, normally for most people, it's the size of a pea or less, but it's got an optical nerve that goes straight to the brain. They did MRI scans, and they flashed infrared and ultraviolet light on just a normal person, not a psychic, not me, not Uri Geller, just a normal person. And on the MRI scan, the eye was picking up infrared and ultraviolet light. It was seeing it, was picking up that light, but it wasn't going to. It was going to the optical nerve, but then that information wasn't going to the person's brain. Something inside was blocking that information. They were receiving those signals, but they weren't actually getting that information. There's actually people that actually can hear ultra frequencies, so you can hear higher tones, and again, that information is not going into the brain. We have far more. There are far more capabilities that the human brain can do than we know, and something's blocking it. Something is stopping it, and you can say it's our own belief. You can say it's the banana. Whatever it is, we are far more capable. This whole thing of like superhumans. No, not superhumans. They're just humans. They're humans that have actually got more of their abilities. And there's more children waking up. There's more people in the last 50 years that are coming in that are seeing more things. And this is how they actually. Apparently, with the alphabet agencies, they said this is how they actually knew that the like Bigfoot and certain things that were being seen are real, because these people were saying, yeah, look, there's a portal there, there's an energy there. And when they actually tested that area, they said, yeah, the biomagnetic electric energy in that area is definitely was increasing. And they found these people and used these people who could see portals, who could see the ley lines, who could see these different entities walking by. And like anything that I can do, and people go, oh, Boggie, you're amazing, you're magic. No, I'm really not. I'm really not. You have the capabilities too. You just got to use them. But the biggest thing with us beings, us human beings, is the power of belief is far more integral to our reality than we. If you think, oh, I can't do this, you won't do it. Quite simply, because you won't. You'll refuse to do it. And I've seen people refuse to allow healing to take place. And all other people say, oh, you have to believe in it for it to work. Yeah, but do you realize what you're saying? That you're saying, oh, you have to believe in it to work, and I don't believe in it. So you don't want it to work then. You don't want, you don't want to get better, or you don't want to bend the spoon, or you don't want, wherever it is, you don't want to see the other things that are around us all the time. Because but then that's, if you're stopping it from happening, it's showing how powerful you are, because you can make it happen and you can make it not happen. And that's part of what's happening with this energy, is that more and more people haven't got a choice anymore. Is that more and more people are starting to wake up, not necessarily through choice, but because the energy's it's a bit like a radio. If you have a radio and you tune into a radio, tune into a channel, but it's really faint and you can't really hear it. But if you boost up the energy, suddenly you boost up the power on the radio. Just by boosting the amount of energy that's going into that radio, you actually boost up the signal. And that's what's happening to all of us, is that our signals are being boosted. That, if we're the radios, we're the antenna, the energy that's passing through the solar system is boosting us all, and things are starting to happen. I'm becoming more psychic. No, you are always psychic. It's just now you've got more energy. It's coming online, and that's what's happening. But as any good Taoist should say, hey, what do I know?
So when you look up to the sky and you can see all those sparkles in the sky that kind of, to me, they look like little dots of light that kind of move. They do this like little movement, and they almost look like tadpoles. They've got like a head and a tail, but it kind of, I don't know if they do or if it's just that sparkle moves and it looks like it leaves a trail. And my feeling on that is that it's energy. And looking at that now compared to looking at that 20 years ago, there are so many more of those sparkles. Is that energy to you?
Yes. And yes, but it's more, it's more than that as well. Is that so the Taoist concept is that everything is conscious, not just, so in Buddhism they talk more about like plants and trees, and us, that everything's conscious. But Taoism, everything's conscious. The rocks, the water, the sand, the atoms. And ironically, that in quantum physics they already knew back in the, well, they like clarified it in the 70s, but back in the 30s they started to see that particles, atoms, were actually conscious, that they were actually moving, and everything is conscious, and that energy around us is conscious, and it's all interconnected. We feel separate, it feels individual, but it is all around us. It's in us. And the Taoist concept of the universe is that sometimes, what you see out there, but we're all looking at all the awe and the universe that's out there, but there's a universe in us. Every single cell is conscious, and every, our whole in Taoism they see the body itself as a whole universe, a whole conscious reality, moving about, interacting. And within Taoism, a bit like those, Star Wars, the Borg, in Taoism they talk about merging with the one, before you can merge with everything out there, you have to merge with inside yourself, and you have to become you know, the word yoga means union. It's to become unified. So it's all about unifying with, you know, with that reality. And the thing of, you know, you have the divine feminine energy, you have the divine masculine energy, rather than the divine feminine female or divine masculine man, and you have the sacred child, and they're all qualities that are in us. Whether you're man, woman, banana, or goat, we all have the divine feminine, divine masculine, and the sacred child. And the sacred child is about play. It's about opening up to that awe and the wonder, and what you seeing out there you can communicate with and you can connect with, just being open to it, and just you know, and just reaching out with your mind or your consciousness, that you can, you know, that you can talk to it. And the whole thing from Taoism, and for me, synchronicities are the universe saying, oh, you're listening. Oh, okay. Here, I have that. Here, I have that. Here, I have that. And so that whole thing of like synchronicities and or even like magic, when you start opening up to the universe, when you start letting go of what you no longer need, because most people hold on to it. You know, that's why most people, the 60 to 90,000 thoughts in our forebrain, most people are living in the past or worrying about the future, rather than actually just being in the now and doing. um and if you actually just, you know, like be like a child and sit under a tree, or just sit still for a little bit and just allow yourself to ground to earth, to connect, um and just experience the world, and just look at a sunshine, or just, you know, even just look at a wall and look at what's in the wall. And within, there's a thing within DragonDog Shaman where they would get a glass of water. You get a glass of water, and they want you to focus on the water and look at the particles inside the water and feel the particles inside the water, and even the particles inside the glass itself, the atoms that make that glass, and to actually feel that energy. That's all they say at first is, and what happens is when you start feeling that, or you start looking at energy, or you say you see those things in the sky moving, when you start observing them, they start changing, they start moving, because they're aware they're being observed, because, you know, the observer affects the experiment, and you can actually start, you know. And this is where another form of Taoism called the cloud whisperers, they would, you know, their whole name is a bit of a metaphor. They, you know, at first they're known as the cloud whisperers because they could read they would get you to look up at the sky. Indeed, they would get you to look up at the sky, and they would read your fortune through the clouds. But they could also make clouds evaporate or build up. You know, they had that, they had tuned into that, and but not only with clouds, they could do that with everything. You know, they could, you know, like, you know, you talk about something and suddenly something appears, something wonderful appears, and that's the universe talking to you, relating to you about that, or giving you information. um and the point is, it's all you, though. It's just you talking to you. The universe is all interconnected, and we try to make out these things are fantastic and wonder, which they are fantastic and magical, but also they're normal at the same time. It's like, you know, when you see that stuff, and or people like, because the medical profession would say, oh, those things you see, oh, it's in your head, it's in your eyes, or, you know, you're seeing, and it's, well, it's both. It's, you know, you can see things energetically, you can, you know, even if you're seeing what's inside your mind, or you start within Taoism, again, within Qigong, especially with Qigong and Neigong and Shen Gong, which are all different versions of Qigong. The goal is to unify your body. So you start, you know, like with the doc talking about breathing from the heart. But once you connect with the heart, connect with your liver, connect with your lungs, connect with your intestines, and I mean, feel them, actually feel them moving, actually, you know, go through them. When I was about 18 years old, I moved through my brain, and I was actually working through actually meditating, working through my mind, and seeing what different things were in my mind. And I turned my eyes off for about 5 hours. I made myself blind. Well, it was 5 hours because I panicked. Oh my God, I got blind. I went back into my childhood worry mode. And it was only when I actually calmed down that I go, okay, right, what did I do? Well, right, I was looking around in this part of the brain and I think I pressed that. And right, let's unpress it. And boom, my eyes came back online again. And it's again, it sounds all that's magical. Oh, you're making it up. There was so much going on. If you look, you'll see that there's a lot of we are so much more powerful than we realise. And like I said, working with my Sifus and working in those different industries, and when they are using these fantastical things as a normal thing, you sort of see different perspectives. You sort of realise there's a lot more going on, and we are far more capable of doing things than we perceive. And the biggest thing is believing yourself, believing that power, not in an egotistical way, but just believe it's possible. Just believe it's possible. And the more you let go of what you no longer need, the more you breathe out that char, the more space you make. There's a big Eastern philosophy that a quoon, which is the Chinese word for dojo or like hall, a quoon is valuable for the empty space, because it's not what you can fill it with. Having the empty space allows you to put stuff in it, but once it's full, you can't do anything with it. It's no longer valuable. So, and there's another saying of there's 2 cups in the body. Well, there's actually 3, but we'll focus on 2 cups. There's one in the heart, one in the head. The cup in the head you want to keep empty, because if you've and that means not to stuff so much information in there, or more, it's about the ego. When you have that ego, oh, I know so much and I'm awesome, I'm this, you become overflowing with knowledge, but therefore there's no room, there's no more space to learn anything else. Well, that's why you hear me, I joke and muck about and be silly, because I don't take myself or anything else too seriously. And I say the words, what do I know? For that same reason, allow yourself to be open. But the cup in my heart, you overflow, and you're overflowing with love and abundance. But in the heart, there's actually an energy field that exists that Russians found in, I think it was about 20 years ago now, 25 years ago. And they call it the bioelectrical field, and it's actually the shape of a Torah or a donut. And when you're positive and happy and you open up and you're in that childlike energy of awe and wonder, that field expands. And when you're fearful and angry and frustrated, that field contracts. And that field actually affects your physical body, but it affects other people as well. Because when people say, oh, that person walks into the room, it lights up the room. That's that field, that energy. Both Mother Teresa, Gandhi were both said that they could walk into a village and people knew they were in the village because they could feel their energy. And that's not a woo-woo thing. That's actually a hard scientific fact that this energy field exists. And you can make this field expand. And when that field expands, you're seeing those things up in the sky. There is no limit to, and this is the thing, we've been told there are limits, that we're only meant to live, we only live to this. Well, science actually knows we're meant to live at least to 250 years in actual fact, if not even longer. That our DNA actually is capable of that, but something's stopping us from doing that. So your energy is limitless, your consciousness is limitless. You can reach to the other side of the universe. You can, and you do that just by doing it. Don't try to do it, don't think you could do it. It's by doing it, it happens. I think that answers your question, maybe. I don't know.
I can't even remember now what the question was. But it's led to another question. So you said there's a cup in the heart, there's a cup in the head, and you said there were 3 cups. Where's the third?
So the third is in the belly. So the third cup. So is the also known in Taoism as the three dantians. So the belly is so the plexus, the solar plexus, is the emotional center. But that is where it's more. So on the physical side, or in the Taoist side, energetic side, they talk about the lower dantian is where you store your physical vitality. But when you're not flowing correctly, you store your stress, your worry, your tension. So when people say, oh, they got butterflies in their tummy, you know, that's the negative energy being stored in the tummy. And as a kid, I suffered from IBS, IBS and also ulcers. And that was because of all the worry and the doubts. And that was the energy going from there. But when you draw that worry, when you draw it out of the stomach, or the emotions out of the stomach, and you put it to the heart, it converts the energy, turns into a positive thing. So the cup in the belly is supposed to be of your physical vitality. The cup in the heart is supposed to be your emotional vitality, and then the cup in the center of the head is for your spiritual your spiritual vitality. But in that way, when we fill it with thoughts, that cup becomes overflowing and blocked. So again, you empty it of one thing so it can fill with something else. It fills with the emptiness of the universe, which is actually quite full. That's an oxymoron. How can something be full and empty at the same time? Ask the universe.
Now, on your bio, and I think this is something that you say quite often as well, love, chi, and Shen. Is that right? Is that your? Yeah. What is Shen?
Right. So Shen is spirits. Shen. See, the love is Jing, but I always say so. All three of them. So Shen is spiritual vitality, spirit. Chi. It normally comes with like in a small Q and a small I. So there's chi, which means all energy, everything. But then there's a small little chi. You say the word slightly shorter, because in Chinese, if you shorten words or you lengthen words, you put a tone up on the end or tone down, actually changes the word. So chi is different to chi. Chi is all energy, all vitality, everything. It's also mist. It's also elusiveness. But chi, short version, is physical vitality. So we need physical vitality, the physical energy. That's why then we store that in the belly. The Jing is the emotional vitality, but all of these have a raw and a cultivated. So raw chi, sort of just like surviving. Sorry, raw chi is surviving. Cultivated chi is thriving. Raw chi can be like like your emotions all over the place, but can also be passion. Cultivated chi is compassion. So I say love instead of just saying Jing. I say love because I'm talking about the cultivated version. I'm talking about love, chi, and Shen is my way of sending out. It's a blessing. I send out a blessing to people. So I'm sending out love or compassion, chi, physical vitality, and Shen, spiritual vitality. And it's why, and some people get, I do a little thing when I write. I put 3 dots at the end, and the 3 dots are Qi, Jing, and Shen, or it's the 3 ones. It's a way of creating a spell within its spell work. So whenever I write, if you see 3 dots, which annoys some of my friends, so you always put 3 dots. It's my spell work. Go away. I don't care. So, but yes, it's the same sort of thing. It's my version of Qi, Jing, and Shen, or it's sending out that energy of the 3 ones. Basically, that's the short answer.
Thank you. Okay, so you've got a YouTube channel. Is that Sifu Boggie, your YouTube channel?
Yep. My YouTube channel is Sifu Boggie. and then I'm on Patreon as well under SEAFOO Boggie. Facebook, there is actually two. There's the Way of Conscious Mindfulness, which is the main show, and then there's a personal page which is the Way of Sifu Boggie. And then I have my Patreon, which is my school teaching, and that's www.patreon.com/Sifu Boggie. So everything is basically Sifu Boggie in one form or another.
Wonderful. And do you have anything coming up that you want to share about?
Well, I am actually I'm a community director for a app called Vibio app, and it's all about communication. It's all about they do it with Vibio. It's sort of the next version of Facebook / Instagram / WhatsApp, because it's about video to video communication. But one of their biggest things is about freedom of communication. So they're not into censoring, but they cover this by doing it in a different way. That they use a thing called heart tags, which is like hashtags, and you only see what you're passionate about. So with the beginning, you join Vibio and you say, I love bananas, spirituality, and trees, and then anything in those hashtags, that's all you see. So it's a way of, so you don't, if you don't want to see something, you don't see it, but you see it in a certain way. So I'm sort of doing on Instagram, I'm doing a thing called vibe outs, which are these conversations of the opportunity to talk to people, strangers, people you never met, anytime, any place, anywhere, and we're talking about different stuff. So each week there's one on a Monday, there's one tonight on a Wednesday on Instagram, and we have these chats. Different people come on, and it's all about talking about anything. It can be totally random. A lot on Vibio, there's a lot of people who are artists, but there's a spiritual side as well, and the whole point is the freedom to be able to talk about your passions. And so so if any of you guys are about on Instagram, you can actually, you'll see a link for it on my profile, but if you also look up Vibio app, which is VIBEOAPP, and that's their profile, and they're talking about, like I say, it's a community for everybody. It's all about connecting. It's instead of comments, it's video on video. So you talk to people. So you can send a video out saying, I love bananas, and somebody will send a video back saying, I love bananas too, I like them straight, and somebody else, oh, I like them bendy. And you can have all these conversations through video, and they'll all be connected. So it's almost like a live conversation, but it could actually be happening a bit like texts or emails. It could happen over a long period of time, but you have these communications going on. And that's what the app does. But the whole point is to help you find people you vibe with, people you relate to. And it's about finding people who love your passion. So it's the thing I'm very much sort of focusing on at the moment. But obviously, I still have my shows, The Way of Conscious Mindfulness. I'm still doing those, and we have our show. We will have another one coming up soon. Yep, indeed, on Thursday. So like home discussion. So that's it really.
Wonderful. Let me just check my notes. I think that was it. Yeah, and I'll just say that I've got a little and Mary Magdalene and Merlin, well, they're Sisters of the Rose and Merlin thing on Friday, which is Friday the 13th, So this was an activation that it was a transmission and an activation that I received at Mary Magdalene Chapel. And this one is more about, I'll share the event and the ticket tailor again, but it's more about self-nurturing. I was called to do for this one. So it's activating certain things in our body that are kind of already there, but just waiting to be put online. But it's more for self-nurturing and self-alchemy this time. And it's linked, I received it on the Sirius Gateway of 7. So that is on Friday at 6:30. And Paul and I are chatting on Thursday, as we said. Is that just on YouTube at the moment?
Yes, it's on YouTube because I've got banned again. So I can't seem to do a Facebook Live at the moment. It won't let me. So I'm in the bad books of Facebook again. So, but it's all, yeah. So it's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. But what happens? We will. Well, if you look up Sifu Boggie at the time. It will pop up there, but once it starts, I disappear for a second and I go on to Facebook and I put the link back on for you guys to find. But yes, you can find it on YouTube.
And also on your YouTube channel, you've got lots of Qigong things as well, haven't you?
I do. I over the years, there are lots of exercises already given away for free. There's lots of actually the energy work as well, Reiki and the Shen. There's an exercise that I always recommend to everybody, whether you're suffering from chronic pain, from stress and anxiety, whether you are a healer and you're feeling burnt out. There's a simple exercise called Willow Tree Qigong. See, I love trees. Willow Tree Qigong, or Twist the Waist. It's had over 10,000 hits, I think now, and you can find that on there. And yeah, and if you're interested in learning more, like I said, I have my own school, the Shun Dao School, and I teach Qigong and the Shen and / DragonDog Reiki more, but it also we cover lots of different stuff. I teach acupressure techniques, reflexology techniques. There's lots of things on the different levels of classes. No class is just one thing with me. When you come and learn from me, you learn 10,000 things at once, and then and then you ask me again and again, and I'll teach you the same thing 10,000 different ways. But no, it's how I learn. It's how I teach. Is that there's always lots of information, and yeah, I like to give you plenty. I like to give you plenty to ponder, and they're also a bit silly because I'm a little bit silly. So I'm not a very serious teacher. I'm very serious about what I love. I'm very passionate and serious about what I teach, but I'm not actually that serious of sorts. You'll find out if you come and join. So.
And one last little question: which came first, roller skating or Dao?
The Dao. The Dao came first. I didn't start ice skating until I did the martial arts or the Qigong at the age of let's say 11, 12. I started ice skating at 15 and I didn't start roller skating until 16. So I've actually done the martial arts longer than I've actually ice skated, but everybody thinks ice skating is as long, but no, I didn't start ice skating until I was 15 years old. So.
There you go. Thank you very much. I have thoroughly enjoyed our fascinating conversation. I could talk to you for hours because you've got a lot of, and you retain it as well. Like, I hear wonderful things, but I don't retain them unless I keep speaking them. I don't retain them. But you have an encyclopedic mind.
Well, yeah, I'm part of my dyslexia. I've got a photographic memory with short-term amnesia. So I forget your name in 30 seconds, Sue, but I'll remember everything else. I'm just teasing, but yeah, I do, yeah. I'm not as yeah. Oh, Boggie, you know so much. You're so awesome. Yeah, I do forget stuff, or I forget certain things, but I retain the things I enjoy and love, and just forget the things I don't need. I don't need, or actually, I forget lots of things I need or should remember, but anyway, yeah, it's all good. It's all fun.
And thank you to everybody who's been with us and for all the comments as well. It's been, Shaz, you've been making me chuckle every now and then when I've been looking at the at the comments. So thank you everybody who's joined us, and thank you everybody who is watching the replay or on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
and
we
I'll when I get off here, I'll go through all the comments as well. So if there's any for me, if you've got any questions, ask them, and I'll reply in a bit.
Brilliant, brilliant. Shaz says, sue him for name defamation.
Say that again.
Shaz said, sue him for name defamation.
Indeed, yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I will stop the live now, and see you soon. Lots and lots of love. And yeah, if you want to join us, if you want to see us chatting about light codes next week, that will be Thursday. I think it's around 8, if I recall correctly. So yeah, we'll see you soon. Mwah.